Hi, today we're going to learn how to brew beer at home. If you're anything like me, you enjoy a good craft beer. The one nice thing about learning how to brew your own beer at home is you can brew a high quality beer at a fraction of the cost, and you're going to come up with a beer that's going to taste much better than anything you'd be able to buy in the store. Now, you might sound like brewing beer at home is very difficult. I want to tell you, if you can boil water, you can brew beer. There's a couple steps to it. It's not as difficult as it sounds. The first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get supplies together. You're going to want to have a pan, a stainless steel pan, that's going to be able to hold about 4 to 5 gallons of water. You're going to need 2 secondary buckets. Now, basically, it's just a large plastic bucket that'll hold 6 gallons. You want to get sanitizing equipment. In most cases, you can use just regular bleach. You can buy standard sanitizer in the store. And you're going to want anywhere from 40 to 52 bottles, depending on how much you're going to brew. A good source is homebrewer.org. They'll give you a lot of directions, give you some ideas what equipment to purchase for the type of beer and for the quantity of beer that you're going to want to produce. Now, there's 2 types of beer you can brew. There's full grain and there's extract brewing. Now, full grain brewing is just how it sounds. You are brewing with multiple grains. You follow a recipe to brew the type of beer that you want. Grain brewing is nice because it gives you a lot of flexibility and it gives you control over what you're brewing. The one downfall of full grain brewing is it's more difficult. And for somebody who's starting out, I probably wouldn't recommend full grain brewing. I did that the first time and I learned the hard way. I burned up a batch of beer and it was awful. The second way would be extract brewing. Now, extract brewing kind of is what it sounds like. What you're doing is you're using a grain extract, and it's much easier to do. You'll get the grain extract, you'll choose what type of beer you want to brew, and you'll get all the ingredients with it. Obviously, the ease is the main selling point of extract brewing, but you don't have the control over what you want to brew, and they don't have the large selection. There's plenty to choose from, but as you start to brew more often, if you really get into home brewing, you're going to want to start experimenting with some different things. So what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about doing extract brewing today. Now, what you want to do is you're going to get a kit. I get mine from a place called northernbrewer.com. They're based out of Minnesota. They've got local locations around too. And you'll be able to get the entire kit, and it's going to come with all the ingredients you need. It's going to come with, this is a syrup extract, and you'll get the hops, depending on what type of beer you're brewing. You get 1 pack or 2 packs. This is an American wheat beer. You got a Cascade hop and a Wilmette hop. And it comes in this nice box like this, and it's gonna cover everything you need. The only other thing you want to get is you want to get the proper yeast to go with this. Any brewing store you go to is going to give you an idea of what you need. Now, after you've sanitized everything, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to start out and you're going to boil 2.5 gallons of water. Once you bring that to a boil, you're going to want to add your bottle of extract syrup, and you're going to brew that for 45 minutes. When you get to the 45-minute mark, you're going to want to add your hops. You want to make sure you stir this as it goes on, because it will burn on the bottom. It will burn on the bottom of the pot. The syrup has got a lot of sugar base in it. You'll boil the hops for an additional 15 minutes. When you've reached the hour point, you want to take the pot off the stove. You have what's now called the wort. And you want to take that, and you're going to pour that into the secondary bucket that you have. After you do that, you're going to want to add 2.5 gallons of cold water to the wort that's in the bucket. You can use tap water. It doesn't have to be any particular kind. You want to seal it up, let that get down to room temperature. Once it gets to room temperature, you'll open it up. You'll add your packet of hops. You'll seal it back up, and you'll store it in a cool, dry place for a week. After 1 week, you'll transfer it into the second bucket. Again, seal that up, let that sit for a week. When the second week has gone by, you'll make sure you got all your bottles sanitized. You'll bring your bucket of at this time it's still called wort. You'll bring your bucket of wort. You'll add what's called priming sugar to it. You'll boil a cup of water with the priming sugar. You mix it in, stir it up real nice, and you bottle your beer. Very simple to do. You take the bottles. Once you're done, again, take them back, store them in a cool, dry place. Anywhere from a week to 10 days. You want to check. You can take the bottle. You can shake it a little bit. If you see bubbles starting to form in there, or you see it starting to carbonate, you know you're pretty much where you need to be. After you get past about the 10-day point, bring a couple bottles upstairs, put them in the refrigerator, pop one open and pour yourself an ice cold glass of your own home brewed beer. I want to say thank you to my audience for listening to me. And thank you for listening to my presentation.